All right, everyone. Well, welcome to the first annual Intentional Insiders retreat. Thank you all for coming. So, I hope everyone knows me. I've spoken to all of you either online or in person. My name is Gleb Sapursky, and I'm the president of Intentional Insights. Welcome, and I'm really glad that all of you are here. So the first thing we wanted to do was just introduce everyone. And so let's first introduce everyone who is in the room, and then we'll introduce everyone who is on the video call. So introduce myself. I'm going to turn it over to the Intentional Insights Vice President and my wife and co-founder, Agnes Vishnevkin.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Gleb did my job, but it's really great to see you. And I know I haven't spoken to most of you in person, but it's really fantastic that you're all here with us today. And I look forward to chatting. And next is Serena.
Hello. I'm a little bit camera shy, but I will try to get through this with as little blushing as possible. My name is Serena Gilliland. I am one of the board members, in addition to Gleb and Agnes. And, okay, bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My name is Jeff Dubin. I am a proud monthly donor to Intentional Insights. I came to this through being friends with Gleb for several years and the local secular humanist group, which is called the Humanist Community of Central Ohio.
Yeah.
I'm Bob Behrman, a senior member of the group by years, nothing else. And I'm a member of the Humanist Community of Central Ohio. But I also work as an educational consultant for the American Humanist Association, doing some research and writing projects.
And Bob is a member of our advisory board.
And that.
All right. So let's introduce the people on the video call, and I'll click on one of you one by one to introduce yourselves. So first up is Alex. Would you like to introduce yourself, Alex?
Hello, I'm Alex Weisenfels. I'm in Madison, Wisconsin, and I review some articles for Intentional Insights, and wrote my first one, and I'm working on changing how people think.
Thank you. Okay, next up, Chris.
Hi, I'm Chris. Online I go as Chris Waterguy because people remember that better, and I live in Melbourne, Australia. I did CFAR a couple of years ago, and yeah, very interested in InIn's mission. I've just helped out editing so far, but got some plans for some specific articles to write, and I work in life coaching, so particularly helping people with focus and dealing with procrastination, getting a start on things. That's me.
Cool. Thank you. Okay, moving on to Edward, or Ed. As we know now, I think you don't have your mic, so you can just type your introduction into the chat window, and we can read it out here for the people, and everyone else can read it. Okay.
Oh, that's good.
Yep, he's probably typing.
Hello.
Hello, says Edward. Anything else you want to share?
Sure.
So Edward reviews the occasional article, and that's about it. Smiley face.
Okay,
Hi.
thank you. Okay, moving on to Jake.
Oh, Jake.
All right, Jake, please introduce yourself.
How's it going, everyone? My name is Jake. I live in Alexandria, Virginia, but I work in D.C. as a cop, as a police officer. I got involved in Intentional Insights because, like Alex, I think people could benefit greatly from thinking better. So I like to do my part to make sure that it can happen.
Cool. Thank you. And I also know you volunteer at Oxfam and are also consider yourself an effective altruist.
Yes.
Cool. All right. Moving on to Leah.
Hi, I'm Leah. I live in Connecticut, and I work for animal charity evaluators in communications. I don't know that I do a whole lot for intentional insights, but they definitely help us a lot. So thank you, Gleb. And I hope to be able to help you guys out in this call today.
Thank you, Leah. What's the organization again? Animal Charity Evaluators. It's an organization that Potential Insights works with and helps out with marketing animal advocacy while for governments. So Animal Charity Evaluators is the GiveWell equivalent for animal charities, which evaluates the best charity. Now, unlike GiveWell, it also works in actually advocacy, so promoting the best organizations widely, whereas GiveWell focuses mostly on that.
Awesome.
Cool. Okay, moving on to Pete.
All right, I'm Peter Livingstone. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
All right. I live in Las Cruces, New Mexico. I'm a retired mining engineer and mine manager, and I really started to get into kind of decision making and rationality probably after my retirement, upon reflecting on all the bad decisions I made as a manager, and wanted to learn from that. And I think I've been working with Intentional Insights for maybe about 5 months or so. I'm a monthly contributor, a monthly donor also. I've edited a few articles, and I've worked on a couple of grants, the NEFE, National Endowment for Financial Education, and the MetLife grant, and have a little bit of, not an expert, but a little bit of financial background. Just have been done fairly well investing, basic kind of behavior-based investment. It's kind of what just the kind of simple stuff, but often just simple, and keeping all your emotions out of it, you can do pretty well. And I'd like to kind of contribute to helping other people, use good judgment and decision making in their financial lives.
Cool.
And also, I believe it's Peter's birthday today, so happy birthday.
Happy
Yay!
Thank you very much.
Cool. And moving on to Remel. And we are all from all around the world. So, Remel, please go ahead. You can chat your introduction into the window, and then we can introduce you that way.
Okay, so Remote, can you hear us? No, there we go. Okay. So Remote says, hi, I am Remote from the Netherlands. I've just started working with Gleb on some InIn stuff like giving games over the past 1.5 weeks.
Cool. Okay. Thank you, Remel. And he is involved in both the humanist movement and the effective altruism movement in the Netherlands, one of the organizers. All right, great. Now that we've introduced ourselves, let's go back to the topic of the meeting today. Sure. I can put them on the floor. The topic of the meeting, which was to review the survey and look over the strengths, weaknesses, threats, and opportunities for intentional insights, and discuss what to do next. And we'd like your feedback on these things. We'd like you to take notes on them as we read through them and share, and so that you can then email us That, right. So you can email them to us, and Agnes will tell you more about that. But just keep in mind to be ready to take notes on things, because we might not be able to get to your questions as time is limited for each of the 4 points we want to discuss: strengths, weaknesses, threats, and opportunities. So now I would like to turn it over to Agnes, who together with Serena has reviewed the results of the survey that folks took, and will bring up the points to discuss.
May I turn it my way
Yes.
a little?
Sideways. That is
Okay. What?
That is a lot.
A lot. Well, I will just turn it this way while I make a brief comment, and then I will turn it back around. So thanks again, everyone, for taking your time to be here. We're so excited to have folks from all over the world in supporting the mission of helping everyone reach their goals, and define and reach their goals and be more effective in their giving through science-based methods and better thinking. So you have all also generously taken of your time to respond to our survey over the past couple of weeks. And as Gleb said, we will focus our conversation today on the portion of the survey regarding, or the organization's strengths, weaknesses, threats, and opportunities. You've also given us generous feedback regarding the documents, and we will work on that separately to make sure to incorporate your feedback into our work and to our strategy. And we will, of course, share in the coming weeks these revisions with you all and continue the conversation online. So first, so as Gleb mentioned, Serena and I spent some time reviewing your responses. So I'm going to start with talking about the strengths of intentional insights, and I'm looking to the side because that's where my notes are. And so I'm going to cover a few points that were the main themes, and then we have a question to discuss, and please feel free to take notes and share your comments, and if any comments that we do not get to, we would love for you to email them to us later. You can feel free to email to me, agnes@intentionalinsight.org. Also, to folks who are here in the room, please feel free to write down on the paper any kind of comments, and if we don't get a chance to get to it, we'd love to collect your notes and include it later. How does that sound? Good? Okay.
Sounds good.
Fantastic. So let's see. So overall, the responses of the folks who took the survey, so the people who took the survey, there were 14 individuals, and all of them are volunteers like yourselves, but either folks who are volunteers and or donors to the organization. So these folks kind of with more insider knowledge and experience being a part of the insider community, kind of the community of volunteers who works in the organization. So a few of the biggest thing that came up the most times in the response to the strengths was the organization's strength in communicating to a broad audience and translating scientific concepts to the lay public. And so we're quite excited to hear that, because that is the main mission of Intentional Insights. And we're happy that that comes across to you guys. We also had a few comments about expertise that is present in the areas that we're discussing, that we're publishing on, about the success we've had of publishing in prominent media outlets, and overall the focus on evidence-based and science-based content. So that was another area that folks mentioned a few times. There was also a lot of comments about the effectiveness of the organization, which we were especially happy to hear because that's where we invest a lot of our time and effort. Comments like good high-level strategy, good leadership, and a willingness to take risks and try new things. And the fourth thing, and the last thing I'm going to mention, is there were several positive comments that there's a positive community for participants, meaning folks who engage, volunteer, and donate, support the organization in various ways, the folks like yourselves who make it work. So that's what we mean by supporters, as opposed to the audience, which is just the folks who receive our content online and in other media. So several of you said that you feel that there's a positive organizational culture, and you feel that the community of supporters is inclusive, and there's a caring vibe to that. So these are the four things that came out the loudest in your responses, and in the 14 responses from supporters we received. And the one that we'd like most feedback from you today, and again, if you have feedback on any other items, we'd love for you to write it down and email us or hand in a paper separately if you're in the room. But we want to think about the community for our participants. And what are your ideas for how we can make it more positive and more rewarding for you to have this experience of being a supporter and a volunteer for Intentional Insights? Because at this point, this is an all-volunteer organization. All the board members, including Serena, Gleb, and myself, and all of you give of your time. So we want to make this as positive as possible. At this time, we've been having many ways for folks to interact online. We're thinking of starting a way for people to help each other with interpersonal coaching. And so we'd love to hear your thoughts on what would be helpful and what other ideas you have. And so now I'm going to turn it back around. So and Gleb is going to moderate, and Serena is going to read any comments that you write. Farther back?
Yep.
It can't be too far back where I won't be able to see it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm out of it anyway.
Can you set it so it's...
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you very much, Agnes, for the description of the points. And these, so right now we have the kinds of things we have for the community of supporters is the Intentional Insights Insiders email list, where I send out emails every couple of weeks with updates. The Facebook group, that's there. And for people who are interested in becoming more involved and committed, we have a Trello board, where people just share about everything, kind of discuss things, talk about their lives, as well as their work on Intentional Insights. And as Agnes mentioned, the coaching resource, which we're thinking about setting up. So we'd like ideas on how we can build on these. And what I'd like to do is give everyone just a minute to think about this, and then we can go around the room or the virtual world and see whether anyone has specific things they want to share that they think deserve a little bit of discussion in the group. And all thoughts you should send to us, things that you think the group should discuss, please voice. All right? So, a minute. All right. So at this stage, we'd like to go around and see whether people have ideas they want to share about ways of improving and building up on the sense of community. And since Serena just bit down on a meal square, we'll skip her and go first to Jeff and come back to Serena afterwards.
She cannot eat now. How did you do that, Gleb?
I'll be out like that.
That's not nice.
I'll pass for now.
Well, I'm going to wait a minute.
The bottle.
Well, I guess I'll begin with a question. I always look at things. I'm a former teacher, former educator on various levels. And so I'm thinking, and raising the question is, are these materials that you've written, I read those, adaptable for using developing curriculum materials for various age groups, particularly high school students and college students? I know it's very theoretical, but I, as I said, come from look at it from an educator's quote unquote background, and I'm thinking that what I understand about it and read about it, that they could be put into some kind of teaching materials. I mean, you know.
Okay, thank you for the comment. So we're not going to discuss. We're just
No,
gonna
of course not.
take stuff and
Yeah,
take
I'm
it
not
along. Okay, good. Thank you, Bob.
Cool. We'll see.
Okay, appreciate it. Okay. Back,
Wait. Let's go finish
Okay.
going around.
Friends going around. So for me, my main thought is that yes, my goal is to get people's feedback and see what works for them. You know, I want to make sure to have and create situations that are going to be helpful for people in their lives and help them improve their engagement with intentional insights. So that's what I'm pursuing. That's what I want to do. And that's what I want to hear. So it's mainly about people's feedback and seeing whether what we have right now works for them and what we can do better.
So Alex Weisenheim, or
Yeah.
Weisenfels, I'm sorry, is saying that he's having a bit of trouble hearing some of the words. So let's enunciate and speak slowly. Yes.
Good. Okay.
And project.
Project. Will do.
Okay, this is Agnes. No need to turn it around. I will just enunciate, and my thoughts are not different from Gleb's, in that as being the co-founders of the organization, our goals are that we want to have as many volunteers engaged for as long as possible, and we're very excited to have so many excellent people on board with Intentional Insights. And so we really want to hear everyone's feedback and to see what would work for you. And also because it's part of the organizational culture of experimentation, we often try many things and see what works, and just to kind of see whether and how much does it actually work for others. So that's all.
Okay. So I'm going to jump on the I like to see a lot of people engaged bandwagon, because a lot of people is generally better for promoting a sense of community. I do like the variety of people that we have in our community. I personally don't use Facebook, so like I mostly am wondering like what other venues that people are using that aren't Facebook that is as popular as Facebook. Like I just happen to be anti-Facebook. That's just me. I'm weird. But it's also like I used to be into Facebook, so I don't know. Are there other areas that are as widespread that we could target for a sense of community? I did not do well with enunciating. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm done.
Good try. Thank you very much. Okay.
So we
Thank
can click along.
Yeah. Can you actually click along the people starting from Alex?
Right, so, okay, cool. Chris Watkins was reassuring me that it sounded very clear to him.
Okay. Good.
Right, so first up we have Alex. Maybe.
Let's see. Well, it seems like the opportunity to help each other is probably one of the best ideas, at least in my opinion, because most people don't have the chance to get help and find ways of doing things or ways of dealing with things that they're struggling with. So this would present a unique opportunity for people to get help and advice from peers who are geared towards thinking rationally, but also know them personally. So they have knowledge, but they can also listen and understand and apply that specifically for a person's life. And because they're friends, it would be less of a dramatic thing than going to a specialist like a therapist or a life coach. Like I mean, those are excellent, but at the same time, it needs to sometimes be a bit more casually worked into people's lives because they might not realize that they need that.
Cool. Thank you very much, Alex. Let's move on to Chris.
Right, just unmuted. You can hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Cool. I don't know that I have a lot more to add. I think that the Trello thing has been working quite well. It's intrusive enough that I notice it, but not so intrusive that it is a major distraction. And the fact that it's off Facebook is a plus, because although I use Facebook, yeah, it's good to keep something like this, which I consider a productive, valuable project, kind of separate, so I'm not sort of at risk of being drawn into the vortex of distraction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what to add? I think the coaching idea is good. I'm currently in a couple of coaching arrangements, which I find valuable, but also interested in participating here and giving some feedback, some input on the specifics of how to possibly set up the coaching, or maybe some guidelines, some suggested questions, for example, in coaching. I think that could be useful. Yeah, I think things are going on a good trajectory. For myself, it's just a matter of making the time. So I've found that Gleb's gentle reminders, emails occasionally have sort of kept me in the loop, and I'm now at a stage of doing some more that way. Yeah, so mostly I think it's good the way it's going. I mean, obviously having a real life face-to-face community is a great thing, but not always possible. So for me, that's something that I have to find other ways locally, and that's cool. But it's good to see that at least there's a core of people who are able to meet up in person. I think that really adds strength to the group.
Cool. Excellent. Thank you very much, Chris. Let's move on to Ed.
While he's typing it up, I wanted to answer Alex real quick. Oops. The answer is yes, Alex, to your question. Okay. Did Bob say that he was producing, that he wanted to see more teaching materials for the community? And the answer is yes. All right, so Edward Bigpen said maybe a Facebook alternative would be an InIn subreddit, at least if there's a demand for discussion. I can agree with that.
Cool. Thank you. Let's go on to see who's next. Jake, I think? Yes. Thank you for the feedback. Okay. Jake.
You said Jake?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, everyone else was given pretty good feedback. I like the InIn newsletter because it kind of condenses everything, not everything, but the main points of what's been going on with the organization into, easy to read format that I get, at a good rate. I think it's like 2 times a month, something like that. So I really enjoyed that. The Facebook and the Trello, they both serve their respective purposes. So I like interacting on that, but I also enjoy interacting face-to-face like this. Like, for example, I didn't know Chris was from Australia. I mean, even though he probably posted it somewhere on the Trello, it's much easier to remember and absorb information, at least for myself, when you're actually talking to somebody. So I'm not sure how, but it would be interesting to see if we could have more face-to-face hangout conversation. Maybe not necessarily as like a board meeting or something, but I know you said the coaching will probably be somehow Skyped or phone call or something like that. But something like that, or even take it a step further where there's video conferences with fun activities for everyone to do, something like that, where we can get to know each other by our faces and our voices, as well as our stories and everything like that on Trello.
Okay, yeah, that's really cool. That's an innovative idea. It's something we'll put down and definitely discuss as support. Great. Let's move on to Leon. Thank you, Jake. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Me?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, originally when I just asked the question, I was thinking, oh, the only person I really interacted with is Web, and I had nothing but positive comments to say. I guess the improvement I can think of would.
Can you speak a little bit slower, please, so we can hear you?
Sorry. I was going to say when you asked the question that, you know, I had nothing but positive feedback. I've only interacted with Web and had just, you know, really felt that, you know, he really portrayed InIn's culture as very welcoming and positive and, you know, definitely a good environment. And I think the only thing that could be improved would be to get to know the other people at InIn, and I like all the suggestions that people have suggested so far. So I'll just agree with them.
Cool. Okay. Thank you very much, Leah. And now we go on to a new participant who just joined us, Michael. So, Michael, would you please introduce yourself first?
Hi, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I didn't just want to blurt out dropping into the middle of it. I'm Michael. I'm from Honolulu, Hawaii, and I've been with InIn for, I would say, 3-4 months or so. So yeah, I think the question at hand was what ideas would we have for improvement?
Yeah, for community, how to build up a better sense of community. Yeah.
Okay.
Yours.
I think I have a similar opinion to Leah, in that pretty much the Trello has a purpose, the Facebook has a purpose. I think everything is going well how it is right now, and if I were to suggest anything, I would say perhaps just a few more boards on the Trello, I suppose. But then that risks sort of fragmenting all the conversations. So even that's sort of conditional.
Okay.
Like, I'm thinking we could have I'm not sure if there already is one, but is there a board for just article ideas and discussing them?
Yeah, there is a card for just article ideas and discussing them on Trello.
Okay. Other than that, no real ideas. I think everything's great how it is.
Cool. Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, going on to Peter.
All right. Well, one thing I was really impressed to see is when I think it was Hunter who posted a list of ideas for articles that he was considering writing on rationality and applied to just various topics. And I'd really like to do something like that myself. I'm kind of planning on it, and I really encourage other people, whether you intend to write articles yourself or maybe just provide a list of ideas. Like maybe somebody should consider writing, about rationality as applied to, these topics.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, so creating more ideas around various topics that I can prompt them. Okay, thank you. Let's move on to Remo.
Yes, I think one thing might be nice to introduce some more interactivity in content, send it out by in articles, but also just in groups and stuff. So having like simple things that people can do and show to each other. I think that might be nice, just to increase people's commitment. Because sometimes it feels kind of like things are like sometimes a little bit one-sided, like something is being presented. That's the only thing I can think of. For the rest, I think it's actually that's a nice community.
So more of a sense. So creating more of a sense of community for creating interactive activities that people can do as a result of reading articles and engaging them. Okay, cool. Thank you, Remo. And I see that Chase just joined us right now. So Chase, we're going to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself and share anything you want to share about potentially building up a sense of community. So please go ahead, Chase.
I'm Chase. I'm from Durham. I like the idea that was mentioned earlier about increasing the community building activities. And I like the idea I saw on Trello earlier of the coaching suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
The members teach skills to other members.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
A lot of people it seems like do that as well.
Yeah.
And definitely something to keep in mind.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Okay.
I'm writing everything down so later.
Yeah, we'll go through it.
Okay.
All right, great. So we finished up that point, and we can now move on to the next one.
Okay.
So,
I already clicked on you. I'll
Yes.
just wait for it to like it's going slower because there's more going on.
Sure. So we decided to combine the weaknesses and the threats into one.
No, we did not combine.
There's no time.
Hold on. Hold on.
Okay.
There are two questions.
I mean, just do the first one.
Okay.
So yeah, so just because of the timing, we decided to combine the weaknesses and the threats into one.
And actually, the weaknesses and the threats had a lot of overlap. And so I will go over the main points. And so for those who tuned in a little bit later, I'm just going to repeat a little bit about the survey itself. We had 14 people respond. Thanks all for your time. And all the folks responding were participants like yourselves. So there were a lot of common threads in the weaknesses, and a lot of that also overlapped with the threats. Very prominent item that many people brought up is that there is concern about lack of financial sustainability for intentional insights. Another common comment was about the quality of marketing efforts, the quality of website design and of our video editing. Things like the website is outdated, it could be hipper, we can have better editing on our video, and more refined social media presence. Excuse me, can people see us, or did we turn off the camera?
We didn't turn off the camera, so I'm checking it out. But don't worry, keep
Okay.
going.
Very good. So the lack of financial sustainability and the lack of the kind of opportunity for improved marketing efforts were big parts. Let me see what I can add. There was a comment that was kind of a more long-term outlook, something that can present a threat more in a, I think, distant future, I would say, whereas folks in society, that there would be some resistance to the message of intentional insights of focusing on the truth from people in society whose positions would be undermined by a focus on the truth and by using reason and evidence. And so I think that's definitely valid complaint, and I would love to have that problem. I would love for evidence-based thinking and effective giving to be prominent enough that it would be a kind of a subject of attack by folks who don't want that much reason and logic and improved thinking in the world. And another thing that came up a couple of times was that there is a concern about burnout among volunteers, especially folks who participate a lot. And so these are the kinds of weaknesses and threats. And now we're going to go over one of these questions. If you have responses to any of them, again, we'd love for you to write them down. And if they don't get addressed, email them to us right after this meeting. You can email to me at agnes@intentionalinsights.org, and people in the room can just hand in their paper. The question that we would really love to get your input on is about the area of financial sustainability. And so, which really ties in with the issue of our marketing that many view as not the best. So Intentional Insights was set up as a nonprofit organization, and as many of you know, and the vision is to have donors and perhaps foundations, and in addition to individual donors, supporting the work of the organization so that the general public can access these articles, content, videos, and everything for free of charge. And at this time, as you know, it's an all-volunteer organization. We do have some costs related to operations. They're about $42,000 and
Per year.
$42,000 per year. That's right. And we don't. Gleb and I are volunteering full time, both of us, and so the $42,000 is partially covered by donations from generous folks like yourselves and folks in this room. At the same time, Gleb and I at this point are putting about over 85% of the cost. So right now, $36,000 a year is coming out of our pockets, which we're happy to get the organization off the ground, but we're for sure going to run out of money sooner rather than later. And so the sustainability is the part that we really want to think about. And as we have more money, we would love to build up a new website. We have many comments all the time about how a website can be better. Our website is hosted completely for free by a volunteer, and it's not very user-friendly. We need very experienced programmers to make most changes to the website.
Not experienced.
Not experienced.
Ones who know PHP, which is like
PHP specific language.
Somewhat obscure language.
Yeah, PHP seems to be not a favorite for programmers. And so if we have a volunteer who's available, they can change the website, and if not, it can take weeks to make small changes. And so, as well as video editing. So a lot of the marketing, it pretty much depends on funding. And so what we'd love to hear from everyone here today is, what are your ideas for increasing the income? And right now what we are doing, as Pete mentioned, we are working on some applications for grants to see if they would work. But of course, it's common to submit multiple applications before getting even a single one funded. And many of you are generous monthly donors, so that is a wonderful source of income for the organization. And we'd love to hear any other ideas that you might have for how we can increase the income and increase our marketing and get better at getting the message out into the world, to the public. And so, again, let's go around the room, right? That's all I have to say. I'll take notes now.
And I actually wanted to it can't be that far back.
Sure. Yes, let me just add to clarify that what folks talk about our marketing, the things they specifically talk about as things we can improve is the visual design of the website and the professionalism of the video. They really like the content we have, and they really like the marketing strategies that we have, like the way we reach out to a broad audience, the way we have gotten into many prominent media outlets, how we do things, things like news checking, taking advantage of stories. So we do the right things, but the things that take money we can't really do. The things that take money to get a better website and to do more professional video editing. So that's just to clarify what people mean when they talk about better marketing. Okay, now, so that's what I wanted to say. And now we take about a minute to think about things, and then have you have an opportunity to give feedback. All right, so that's about time, and we'd like to go around the room first, as we did previously, and then around the virtual participants to get people's thoughts on this matter. So, starting with Serena.
So I do not have a meal square in my mouth this time. Yes, I do not have a meal square in my mouth this time, so I can definitely talk. So, as both Agnes and Gleb have pointed out, funding and marketing are actually really closely tied together. Oh, okay, sorry. As both Agnes and Gleb have pointed out, funding and marketing are both tied really close together. And one of the really important things that I don't think a lot of people realize is word of mouth is so much more effective than any amount of money we could spend on marketing. Like, it begins and ends with our volunteers, the people who engage with us, who like our content, they tell our friends, or their friends rather, and that is how people are going to know Intentional Insights. So something that everybody, like all of our volunteers, all of you guys, say, hey, yo, I have this really cool thing called Intentional Insights that I'm like super excited about. Hey, you know, I want to show you this. Be excited. Let everybody see your excitement. And that's also like, you know, talk to them about it. Say like, did you read this new article? And then get their attention, get them engaged, and then you can start talking to them like, hey, so I donated like $5 to Intentional Insights, whatever. Like, use that social status boost that you get. Like, I am an altruistic person and donated money to like this nonprofit. Like, that can definitely be a thing that all of us can do.
All right. Thank you, monthly donor Serena.
Thank you.
All right. Going on to Jeff.
Okay. This is actually an offer to help, kind of building on some help I've already offered with regard to fundraising. So is it okay, Gleb, if I talk about the work that we've done up to this point?
Yes.
I provided Gleb some training maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago now, on in-person donor cultivation.
Very helpful training.
So this is a really highly proven method of raising funds for numerous nonprofits. It's used by fundraising professionals, but you don't have to be an experienced professional to learn it. You can learn it from scratch, so to speak, based on your passion for and understanding of the organization and its mission. It can be anxiety-provoking the first time you do it, and sometimes the second, third, fourth, and fifth time as well. But the reality is, it gets results. My offer is, so I personally, it's not practical for me to do donor cultivation for this organization because I'm president of my local humanist community and have to raise money for that, and so there's somewhat of a conflict of interest. However, I'd like to offer to train anyone who is in this retreat, call me, whatever we call it, in direct donor cultivation. The way Gleb, I believe, has done it, it's not necessarily in person in the traditional way, but often via video call or phone call, or face-to-face, even if it's video, is generally better than just phone. Anyway, I would be happy to provide training to anyone in this group who's willing to do it, especially if there's a possibility that you might live near people who could be cultivated into Intentional Insights donors.
Thank you very much for the offer, Jeff.
And Glenn, you're welcome to share my contact information with anyone in this group.
Thank you. Very much appreciated.
Cool. Well, Gleb, my comment and question is really kind of a spin-off related to what Jeff just said. So I wrote down 2 questions that I wanted to ask you. In terms of grant writing, we talked about money, finance, but I'm being very specific in terms of questioning what have you done vis-a-vis grant writing, and what plans do you have for actually grant writing. And the reason I mention this is that in my retirement, I do have some time and some experience over the last couple of years, or a few years, in terms of grant writing. So I'm wondering what your plans are, what you've done so far to date in this area, and what your plans might be. And I'd like to work with you.
Thank you very much for the offer, Bob. I will connect you to Agnes, who leads the...
Thank you very much.
Yeah, who leads the grant
I
writing.
can tell you more about what we've done and what we're doing. Yeah, I will. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Thank you. Very good. Cool. So, okay. So for me, I'm trying to do what I reasonably can for grant writing, kind of, grant writing and individual fundraising, trying to make sure that I improve my own knowledge. So the recent steps I've taken on fundraising is I've ordered a couple of books from 3 or 4 books from the Ohio State University Library where I work, and I plan to go through them, and so improve my own capacity as a person who's able to raise funding. I tell you, it's very weird to go from being someone who's a professor to someone who is a fundraiser. It's a strange journey, and I've been focusing more on creating content, and again, going from being a professor writing for a really academic audience to someone who's able to publish a blog that became the most popular article on Psychology Today. That's a very strange journey. And then now going more into fundraising is also a strange journey, but that's what I'm doing. I'm changing myself, and I'm overcoming that awkwardness and anxiety that Jeff talked about with his help and other people's help to get there. So that's my work in this matter. I'm going to Agnes.
Okay. I don't know if people can see me, but I'll just speak loudly. I have nonprofit experience professionally for about 10 years, so I have done some grant writing in the past, and I was a former board member along with Jeff Dubin here in the room at the Humanist Community of Central Ohio. That is where I first learned the in-person donor cultivation techniques that Jeff taught to Gleb, and I believe that everyone who is listening right now who has donated money to Intentional Insights is an example of how effective this technique is. So thank you for your generous gifts, and thank you, Jeff, for teaching Gleb for how to do it. I look forward to increasing also my individual donor solicitation. As some of you know, I'm increasing my involvement with Intentional Insights after some mental health issues that have been affecting me over the past couple of years. So I've not been interacting as much with folks. I'm also coordinating our grant writing efforts, and if anyone's interested in helping with grant writing or grant editing, I know we're in touch with a few of you, and I'm very excited that Bob here is also interested in helping out. So, but really I'm very excited to hear about new ideas, because I mean, in the world of fundraising, you ask people individually for a monthly donation or you write grants, and I feel like maybe there's something we're missing, or maybe some new ideas that other folks have.
Cool. Thank you very much, Agnes. I'm going on now to Alex, who is one of our generous monthly donors.
Let's see. I remember I sent an email before about some ideas that I had for fundraising, so I don't think I need to rehash that too much, but it occurs to me that people, so we want recurring donations, and it occurs to me that people are more likely to donate to things when they know more specific things about them. Like if there was a specific project that they could, that might even actually have their name attached to it, like list of donors, and they mentally can say to themselves, I am accomplishing something by supporting this particular project. My work in the form of money is going towards making this thing happen. That is much more effective at getting people to support things, especially if you can connect that to the world that they want to live in, something that affects their ideals or even their personal experience.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, that will be definitely something to think about. Thank you. Moving on to Chase, another generous monthly donor.
So I like the idea of the face-to-face meetings with people for asking for recurring donations. I think that's really effective. And I also like the idea of showing people what their donations are accomplishing. So I think if we do more social media outreach, get people to understand what we're doing, then we can invite them to participate in those face-to-face meetings and increase donations that way.
Cool. Okay.
Examples.
Yeah.
Do you happen to have any examples in mind for how to do that? Any specific ideas, Chase? This is Agnes.
Just sort of, if we do a better job of sort of sharing intentional insights articles and, describing what the organization is, what it does, to friends and other people we know, and then set up a more systematic process of inviting people to become more involved. I think that would help.
Cool. So the kind of stuff that Selena was talking about. Great. Okay, moving on to Chris.
One idea I had was to do something like, Patreon? It's used by some podcasts and video channels on YouTube, for example. And
Yes.
it's a way for supporters, so supporters can give a monthly contribution. It could be as little as $1 a month. But when you have a large enough audience, that adds up. And typically the patrons have access to certain insider materials. So there might be special, so if it's a podcast, for example, it might be special unedited full-length interviews, for example. And so it's the kind of thing where for intentional insights, obviously the valuable information that helps people to change lives, you want to be free and accessible to everyone. But there might be other material that people who want to feel like an insider would value, like to feel a part of it, that there's special messages, special communication, special content or podcasts. So I'm not really sure. I don't know if it's practical, but it's just it seems like a possibility. So that's all that comes to mind for me.
Cool. Thank you very much. So like a membership, like a separate membership that would give you special access. Okay. Cool. Thank you.
I suppose, so just thinking about it, it's a little like an ongoing crowdfunding campaign where the perks, instead of being a once-off perk for a once-off donation, it's an ongoing perk for an ongoing donation.
Yeah, we'll think about it. But okay, good. Thank you. Okay, moving on to Ed.
The types.
Yep.
All right, so Edward Thigpen says, I was also going to suggest Patreon. In the long run, once InIn has a large readership, it's a natural fit because we are targeting a broad audience.
Okay, cool. Sounds good.
Unfortunately, that doesn't do us much good today.
Yeah. Today we need to rely more on individual donations and hopefully grants. Okay, going on to Jake, who is another of our monthly donors.
Sorry to say, I don't really have any insights other than what these guys have shared. They're excellent suggestions, but fundraising is not my strong suit. So, is there some sort of model maybe we can look at? Other nonprofits maybe you've followed, or I know you said you're getting those books that you plan on reading, but maybe a specific other clear thinking rationale or a CFAR, anything like that that has insights into how they got off the ground with a similar mission?
Yeah, it's something I will, of course, looking through other models. We specifically decided not to take the model of the Center for Applied Rationality, which has very expensive $4,000 workshops, or $3,900 workshops that are intense 4-day workshops. So we specifically chose not to take that model because we want to reach out to our audience. But yeah, so it's just a different model, and I really appreciate what the Center for Applied Rationality does about element and a monthly element for myself. So okay, decided to take a different model. Cool, but thank you, and we'll definitely look at other models.
Thank you.
Going on to Leah.
Thanks. So I have a few comments to share. Just in response to the last question that Luke had for some places with innovative different fundraising solutions. I'm not an expert on them, but I know the Raising for Effective Giving does sort of a non-traditional fundraising model, and maybe you would want to contact them to ask for some advice. I know they do, rather than crowdfunding from large groups of people, I know they do.
I'm sorry, sweetie. You're fading in and out, so just do it a little slower.
Sure. I'll turn off my video too, see if that helps.
Okay.
So I was just going to recommend that you contact Raising for Effective Giving for maybe some advice on different fundraising models. I know they do sort of a non-traditional model of asking fewer people for larger donations rather than crowdfunding from larger groups, which seems to be, in their case, effective, but worth exploring at least just to have something to compare to. In terms of broadening social media reach, I just wanted to offer, if you would like to set up a consultation or anything, I do this for ACE, and we've seen a huge increase in our reach since I've started managing the page. So there are some easy tricks you can do to just like really broaden the reach of what you're doing based on posting times and strategic reposting and a few free plugins and apps you can use to just help make your workload easier and make sure you're reaching more people.
Oh, that'll be helpful.
And then what hasn't really been touched on so far from anyone, I think, is just, I think there definitely is value in the person-to-person donation appeals, but I think also improving the professionalization of the website and the quality of the materials would make a big difference for people coming, because you have these articles on Psychology Today, for example. You're probably reaching a ton of people who come to your website, and just something for them to be really impressed with, I think, would be good. And I do some design work for ACE, and so I'd be happy to talk these things through. But I think there are also, I don't know, you mentioned your website is quite difficult to manage because it uses PHP. I was just wondering if you've considered moving to something like WordPress, where it's quite easy with little professional capabilities to be able to have a really clean-looking, accessible website. Things like MailChimp to make really professional email without having to know, a ton of coding or anything. And then what we've done at ACE is have, volunteer design consultancies and things like that. I don't know if that's something your network would have accessible to you.
We don't have people in our network that would be doing volunteer design that I know. But we can talk to you. I'll talk to you later about this. Thank you very much, Leah.
Sure.
Great. Okay. Moving on to Michael.
Well, I liked Ed and Chris's idea about having a sort of separate tier where you get, premium content of some sort. And I think one good opportunity for what that content might be is, Club, you've made some videos on YouTube before, right? Having profiles of effective altruists.
Yes.
I think that focusing on that video content, because people watch a lot of YouTube, people enjoy watching YouTube, so I think that creating video content, maybe explaining some basic rationality techniques, going over situations. I mean, I'm not sure how doable time-wise this stuff is, but I think that video content is one good avenue to explore in sort of casting a wider net.
Oh, thank you. Great. Let's go on to Peter.
All right. Well, I think as I mentioned, I'm fairly new to grants and grant writing, but I do some work for another volunteer organization, a Trail Alliance in New Mexico, and I've been kind of exploring grants for them as well, and I've been amazed at the number of grants, the funds available for like outdoor recreation, for example, and I really haven't explored a whole lot of possibilities for for InIn. I'm sure you guys have, you know, Gleb and Agnes and some others. But I would think that maybe there's some other possibilities out there that at least that I'm not aware of. And like I said, I'm not sure if, you know, how much you've looked into other potential sources of grants.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, we're trying to look into them right now, and this is something that Agnes is in charge of. But yes, thank you very much.
Alex Weisenfels just said that it occurred to him that having premium content might disqualify us from nonprofit status, which I think is a good point.
It wouldn't.
Okay.
It wouldn't.
Okay, cool.
Yes, premium paid content.
This happens. This is a model that some nonprofits follow for donors at certain levels to have certain privileges.
Okay.
I mean,
So
CPAR itself has like paid workshops.
Okay.
yeah, and many like public radio and public television stations. I know some advocacy organizations, for example, if someone donates a large enough amount of money per year, they have a quarterly phone call with senior kind of staff members. So this is something that some organizations do.
Okay. So it sounds like
That would not disqualify us. Yeah, we could consider that definitely. Okay. And still be nonprofit.
Cool. And last but certainly not least, Ronald.
I would be a lot more clear about donating, because right now it's like a small link at the bottom. I don't think it's that difficult to do. Just like see PayPal as just another way for people to express themselves, to thank you for the work you've done. So I would add it as like a bigger button in each article, and also on the homepage. Because right now it's not very clear, and also just if I click on the donate button, I'll get that feedback before in my personal opinion, and it's difficult. I guess it's difficult to change, but it's not very appealing when I go to the donate page. There's some info that I don't really need to see, so that's a small thing that I'd consider. Just really make it clear that like per article, if you like this article, if you got something out of it, just please thank us by giving a donation. Yeah, that's the main thing I'd like to say.
Thank you. All right. Great. Lots of good advice. And moving on to the last point that we wanted to talk about.
Right. So great. Thanks for your comments, everyone, and thanks for your suggestions. And I know we're running a little bit short on time. We have just one more point. And the last thing is the opportunities that folks suggested for intentional insights. The question was, what are the opportunities for intentional insights? And so we had ideas such as overall in society, there's a trend of more people wanting evidence-based voices in the media, in the press, so that's a good opportunity to establish intentional insights as a resource for the effective altruism movement and organizations in effect who are promoting effective altruism as well as rational thinking. Having more connections with other advocates of rational thinking and effective altruism. And the last one that I'm going to mention is developing content that has the potential to go viral. So if you have thoughts on any of these questions, we're just going to discuss one of them right now. Please just write them down, and we'd love it if you sent it to us. And we really especially love your ideas today about content that can go viral. And the reason for that is that, as many of us know, having one piece of content that goes viral can have huge exposure to a very broad sector of the public, as well as mainstream media potentially. And a lot of organizations just burst on the scenes seemingly out of nowhere, but they've been there all along. They just had a very successful piece of viral kind of promotion. So what are your wonderful, crazy, unlikely, weird ideas for viral content for intentional insights? Yeah, do you have some?
Can I use the FFM? Do you remember?
I don't remember, but why doesn't Serena go first since you have something?
But you will take a minute Everyone
Oh, yes.
will take a minute to
Everyone
think
take a
about it.
I did.
Okay.
I know, I understand. But everyone will take a minute to think about it.
Or keep knocking over our.
And then Serena can give us a brilliant suggestion.
Keep knocking over our mascot. Let's get going.
All right, let's get going. So, Serena, with her idea, which may or may not be brilliant.
It sadly got vetoed. It was not appropriate for this, unfortunately, super amazing professional non-profit organization because it is very much non-professional.
Not safe for work.
Not safe for work. So we cannot do it. I'm sorry, I can't. But so that's okay. I'll cry tears on the inside. Save it for another day. So one of the things that has occurred to me, a lot of the stuff that goes viral is something that seems really nonsensical and is just, it has people being really animated. Like, you can tell from their facial expressions, you can tell from their tone of voice, they just are really super into what they are talking about. You know, yes, now you know what it is. Yes. So anything like a silly limerick or a silly rhyme or like this really super silly whatever it is, post on Facebook and be like, and this was brought to you courtesy of Intentional Insights because we're awesome and this is our culture. And not only are we being fun and engaging and energetic, we are teaching you stuff. Bam. That's
Cool.
it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Going on to Jeff. Yes.
Well, again, just a short question. You had mentioned, about connections with other advocates.
Mhm.
And my question is, who might they be? Who have they been, and who might they be?
We have a lot of people who are involved in the effective altruist movement, in secular movement, in the, I mean, there's less of a rationality movement, but we're involved with folks there. A little bit with people in self-improvement, so Planet Purpose, and with people in the Unitarian Universalist movement.
Oh, good. Yeah. What about the AHA?
Yeah, we're very, I mean, you know yourself, we're very
Have you had any
engaged.
response from anybody?
Yeah. Well, yeah, we can talk about that.
Okay,
Okay.
I'd be interested in hearing.
Sure.
Well, yeah. Okay, very cool.
Yep. So myself, I would say I'm not the best person to ask about viral content because I don't have that urge to click on like viral messages that people get, and I'm not so like engaged with it. So I would have to intellectualize my way into it. You know, the way I learned to write for the is not because I read Psychology Today and follow it. It's because I learned to unpack those sorts of stories from what the research says are the best ways to write, and then I wrote them that way. I have a strong ability to achieve goals and like analyze things, but I don't have a strong intuition about these things. So it would have to, I come to it more from an intellectual framework perspective. But Agnes might have some thoughts because she is a much more kind of intuitive understanding of what goes viral. So I have set her up now to perform. So now go ahead and perform.
You can't perform because I'm not on camera. Hello. I'm with Serena. I'm all about being animated, and now that I don't need to take a 5-minute break before going upstairs and then taking a 5-minute break before going downstairs, which is how fatigued I was about a year ago, I would be happy to participate in an animated skit that I've done at different parts of my life in the past. But the question is, what do we do? I think some time ago, Gleb and I briefly floated the idea of some kind of a, maybe like a crowdfunding thing, like being in a public place, I don't know, or like if you pay for every $10, like I will get a bigger tattoo, or like some kind of a weird exercise in, I will stand on this campus in downtown Columbus and ask passersby to help them with their question of the day using rationality approaches, like do some kind of like a publicity stunt. And I mean, I'm willing to do anything to, Glove is not willing.
No, you said anything.
Yes.
No, I will be wearing clothes.
So it's not quite
Anything while I'm wearing clothes.
Not quite anything.
That's still quite.
I've done, you'd be surprised what I've done in the past.
So if you have
Some
ideas,
people might be
type
surprised.
them into the chat box so Agnes can be embarrassed. We love you,
But
Agnes.
at least I won't be broken out of money, so I mean,
True.
Yeah.
All right. So with those thoughts, let's move on to
I
Alex.
I feel like I really primed everyone. This is not maybe good.
Instead of Agnes with something.
Feel free to have other ideas. That's why we had a minute to think about it. I'm in trouble.
Okay, Alex. Oh, and Leah has to go, so goodbye, Leah.
Goodbye.
I think Alex left as well.
No, sorry. I considered that my ditto might have been misinterpreted.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's see. I've actually been working on this sort of problem, as Agnes and Serena were referring to, making things awesome, like crazy awesome. So this is kind of a personal project of mine, which might not quite fit into intentional insights. So I'm working on it separately anyway. But matching up different thinking skills with elemental powers, kind of turning reality itself into a role-playing game or an anime. So that's kind of what I'm working on. But even without that, let's see, the more concrete we can make it, the better, because stuff that's hard for people to grasp, the more abstract it is, well, sometimes abstract stuff goes viral, but it's also difficult for people to implement correctly. And when they try and implement it, they find it hard to hold on to. So simple ideas such as, this is probably the core idea, the idea that to be good or to change things, you have to be confident enough in your own ability to survive the change or to survive giving of yourself. So, yeah. So I guess there's ideas like that, very simple ideas that strike at the heart of problems. I can bring a lot of those to the table, and we can package them up and turn them into slogans that can hopefully be widely applicable.
Nice. Thank you. Let's move on to Chase.
So I was thinking that usually when things go viral, it's because multiple different organizations sort of look at an already popular issue from a new standpoint, and I think we might look into doing some news checking or otherwise analyzing popular issues from a rationalist standpoint, and then that might.
So getting together with other organizations and collaborating with them around things. No, I mean, I can say, yeah, so cool. Thank you, Chase. So collaborating together with other organizations to make things go viral together. Sounds good.
You also said newsjacking.
And newsjacking, yes, which we're currently already doing. Mm-hmm. All right, great. Moving on to Chris.
Okay, a couple of thoughts. One is I had a conversation with the founder of a website called Shareable. I chatted with them about 3 years ago about how they got going, and one of their big strategies was to say, okay, we want to do something in this space of the sharing economy. Mm-hmm. And what they did was to go into Google, whatever that thing is in Google where you can look at what people have been searching for, and they looked at what are the key terms in this space, and they figured out what people were, where people were actually looking for content, what those topics were, and they made sure that they hit all of those areas. As is 3 years ago, I may not be remembering the important parts of the conversation. But the other thing, something that I find useful, the content that I actually use, is I've got all these podcasts, and there's some that are just like all these interviews with fascinating people, and they're like an hour-long interviews again and again, and of course it's just too much to listen to all of it. But there's also a podcast from a psychology professor called Tim Pitchell, and he has an audio boom, I think it is, audioboom.com, and he just does these. This version of his podcast is like 2 or 3 minutes per episode, and particularly if you're cutting down the intro and the ending and just making it a hi-bye kind of like really quick thing, you can really increase the value in that by just condensing something down into an insight of 1 to 2 minutes. And I don't know if that would go viral, but I can see that having it might be easier to achieve reach with that than with like trying to go for a full-length podcast, for example.
Cool. Can you repeat, please?
So sure. So the first one was about the Google economy. So taking a look at what people are searching on Google and seeing what's most popular, and then trying to target that.
Yeah, particularly in the relevant places. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And the second was to make short podcasts, short videos, and see what we can get out of those.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Another example on the short podcast or video thing is Julia Galiff. She has quite a short podcast format, although I think she's also extremely articulate and engaging. So it's not necessarily trying to copy.
All right,
but
great.
An idea. Are we frozen? Gleb's video has frozen for me.
Yeah, his audio has too.
Yeah, it has.
Their internet might have cut out.
Yeah, I need to be going for another commitment, so I think I'm just gonna email my response to that last question.
Yeah, I need to head off too. But good to meet you all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is nice
Oh,
putting faith
Alex.
in it.
Sorry?
Oh, I just said it's nice to put faces with names.
Yeah, for sure.
Hope we can do this again sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Alex, I wanted to add, I thought that your question about the premium content and non-profit status prompted good conversation, even if it wasn't exactly, like sometimes a question like that can just prompt some insights that wouldn't have otherwise come up, and I thought the conversation that followed from that was good.
Thanks.
Hi, this is Agnes.
Hello.
As you know, we have an internet interruption. I'm calling from my phone. And in about a minute or two, the internet will be back on, and I apologize. Can we do it from the phone until the phone? Let's do it from the phone.
Yeah. Yeah, some of us were saying that we had to go pretty soon.
Yep. Was not yet going. Okay, so I wanted to, I think Jake was next. Thoughts that you had about viral stuff.
Right. So unlike Agnes, I'm willing to do anything to make something go viral. So
Yes, let's do anything together, except you'll be with me.
I don't know what.
my ideas touched on by everyone else, but I'll go over them again anyways. So things that are pretty relevant or news, recent news is an example of the Panama Papers for was one that seemed to not necessarily go viral, but usual. So I think it's important to stick with, if you want to make something viral, stick with something that is, I'm sorry, there's an echo, it's hard to echo. Things that are in the news. And second, like what is the meaning of life for you is pretty,
Okay.
Yeah?
Alright, we are back.
I was just saying things that apply to everyone, things with bold titles like is it not like the articles, what is it mean for you? That tends to, a lot of people want to know what the meaning of life for them is, so it seems like a catchy title. So yeah, just things that apply people with catchy titles.
Cool. So what's the takeaway there? She's willing to do silly things.
Yes,
We'll
and something about meaning of life, kind of, maybe like meaning of life and something thematized.
That was just an example. I was using that as an example.
Yeah, something around like, so like we have a lot of content around that, and it would be kind of a natural fit for like a cool thing to do. Nice. All right. Let's move on, and we'll definitely keep in mind your willingness to do anything.
Coming to Washington.
I know.
Yeah. I should not have said that. Okay.
that's what Agnes felt. All right, going on to Michael.
So when I think of viral content, I think of things that are either hilarious or outraging or tragic. Basically, I see kind of a dilemma in that most things that go viral are strongly emotionally arousing. So I think that one area that we could create things that go viral is in the newsjacking that we already do, especially as pertaining to the especially as pertaining to political news. Kind of a double-edged sword there, but that was basically what I thought of. If we start newsjacking things, political stories, closer to when they break, then usually when multiple outlets cover the same story, it's usually one that wins out and is more widely shared than the other versions. So if we're that story once, that's a viral story.
Sure. Definitely. And we had a situation like that when we had the news tracking of the Wounded Warrior project for effective altruism, and we were on top of the Google for that story for
WeWereInTime.com.
WeWereInTime.com, and we were on top of Google for a while, so that was a really big for us. Cool. Good. So, and last but not least, let's go to Memo.
We still have Ed. Is he still online? Who's going to type something?
I don't think Ed is still online.
Okay.
I'm not sure if Ed,
I don't see him.
Ed, if you have,
Oh, there's Edward.
Ed, if you have something to type, please type it in. Oh yeah.
There he is.
Hold on, Remel, before you go, Serena will read Ed's response.
Alright, so Edward 10 says, I'm not sure this classifies as viral, but conflict is a big part of what makes things interesting. Skeptics groups are interesting because of things like the science versus religion concept, or the vaccine debate, or whatever. Those topics are probably a bad idea for InIn, but ideas can conflict just as much as people. For example, the conflict between us and the hedonic treadmill, or between different modes of thought.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point about conflict. Good. Thank you for sharing that. Let's go on to Remel. Thoughts about viral stuff?
Yeah, it's difficult because I've never set up a viral video, but I think like quality should start with quality, and I think you should stick to your strengths as well. Because I mean, I think there's a couple of things InIn does well. So I think articles, that's where you've shown that you have like ways of being viral first, and once you have expertise, you could like add stuff like videos to that. I personally think I think it's good to stick to your strengths. And if you do it well enough, and if you make use of this psychology like you're already doing, then you've got the chance of it becoming viral. And yeah, I think it's just really difficult to predict, but all you can do is just try and get those factors. I think I really like the comment where you just have to be the article that gets shared around everywhere, except all the other ones, the winner takes all. But yeah, for the rest, I don't really have much else to add.
Cool. That makes sense. Thank you, Ramos. Okay, great. Can you switch back those? All right, everyone. Well, thank you very much. That was what we wanted to get, and that was really helpful. Thanks so much for your contributions. And we will have a survey at the end of this to see what your experience was like and what. So yes, please remember to send us stuff. Email them to megleb@intentionalinsights.org, and any thoughts that you had that might not have been voiced. So just whatever you wrote down, it will be really helpful if you send it to us. This was really great, and we got a lot of really good ideas. Thank you very much for your participation. It was really cool, and I really like the idea that everyone of having more of these meetings that a couple of people had. So that's something to think about. Now, I want everyone who is here to please stand at the edge over here, so everyone can see you. Everyone will say, "Oh, thank you." Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yay!